Yeah, Uncle Bayat is what we call him, Samuel, Suleiman Bayat. So we call it Uncle Bayat, you know what I mean, saying Christian. All praise be to Allah, you know what I'm saying? Alhamdulillah, for the good and the bad. So I heard a story that Jamal couldn't run numbers on this side of Broad Street because the blacks controlled this side of Broad Street. The message that we caught from the Bey family was to do for self. You know what I'm saying? Go out.
Tell me what you know about the hood life.
You know, debunking, you know what I'm saying, the situation with Loose Cannon, with him, you know what I'm saying that somebody was pressed out, somebody paid money. Everything Loose ever said was a lie, you know what I'm saying, because, like I said, I was there. It wasn't no press game. We was very comfortable out L.A. We was moving around, going to parties, doing what we wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? We never felt no type of threats, never got no threats. Nobody never paid no money. And we just was having fun, you know what I'm saying? As, you know, early guys in the industry, Meek, he was early in the game, so we just was having a good old time out there, motherfucker. Everybody was happy, you know what I'm saying, just to be in LA, to move around and, you know what I'm saying, do what we wanted to do.
So something you did say during the conversation, you was saying that, like, you know, Nip was your man. When he came to Philly, he took you to Del Frisco's.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Nip, man. Man, real good dude. Me and Nip used to have 3-hour conversations talking about the state, you know, of the black man. When he came to Philly, he invited me to Del Frisco's, me and O'Malley and the guys, and we had a time out Vegas right here in this last pick, man. We was doing nothing. Yeah, Nipsey Hussle, man, good guy. You know what I'm saying? Good brother. You know, every time I was around him, it was nothing but love, all sturdy, never no bullshit, you know what I'm saying? And that's just how he was, man. He just was a good dude, you know what I'm saying? And he with Philly, you know what I'm saying? And probably other people from other places too, but when we was around, it was just, you know what I'm saying, all love. Like he was from Philly, you know what I'm saying? He was blended, he had the beard, you know what I'm saying? So we looked at him as a brother, you know what I'm saying?
Nip got that chill, cool soul.
Yeah, he act like a Philly nigga. He don't even act like an LA nigga. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I thought, you know what I mean? You would think Nick was from Philly if you ain't know him as a rapper. You know what I'm saying?
So what's something that, you know, the people that's outside looking in might have a perception of Nip that's like, you know, the reality of it?
I don't really know how people really view Nip, but as a legend, you know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. Nip was a legend, you know what I'm saying? Being from the West Coast, he in that same category as, you know, Snoop and Dre and, you know what I'm saying, all the rest of them, Kendricks and all them boys, you know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna put the question in a better way. I say, compare like being around Nip to being around, you know, a lot of the rap guys that you see and all that. Like that.
I ain't gonna lie, with me, every time I run across a rapper, it's love. You know what I'm saying? I ain't really never have no bad run-ins with none of the artists from Drake to whoever, Nipsey or whoever, like Raw.
Yeah, the biggest.
You already know 215 in this motherfucker.
You already know Rose, man.
When you see my family, nigga, this real Philly shit.
Official shit, you hear me?
Official family shit, you heard?
So everybody always show me love. Young Thug, YFN Lucci, YG, you name them. Yeah, Joe Gotti, Moneybag. I never had no bad interactions with none of them guys. All them guys is, you know, genuine, real street dudes, Dirk and all them. I've been around all them guys, Uzis. Like, everybody always showed me love. So I never had no real bad, you know, running because my introduction to them always been on good terms, always been genuine. Meek, majority of them, his guys, his friends, you know what I'm saying? A lot of dudes he came up with in the industry and all that. And Meek crew, you know, as far as me, O'Malley, and a lot of other guys, Tox and different dudes that have been around Meek, we all solid dudes. So we didn't know it was on no sucker time. We always had our own money. We always, you know, paid for our own weed, our own meals. We always, you know what I'm saying, did our own thing. We wasn't like free as entourage. You know what I'm saying? We all had our own jewelry. You know what I'm saying? So it was never no flea shit around us, so nobody could never speak bad on Meek Mill crew. You know what I'm saying?
No, facts though, because, you know, guys that's not from out of town, within the other media, they always try to downplay Meek and his influence and say, like, oh, he those guys can't do nothing without Meek and all that. When truthfully, you know, like everybody really be having their own motion.
Yeah, everybody had their own motion, you know what I'm saying, you know, prior to Meek Mill even become an artist, you know what I'm saying? Everybody that was around Meek basically was somebody already in Philly in the streets before they was around Meek Mill in the industry. We all was solid dudes in our neighborhoods and all that, but when we got on the big stage, we knew how to handle ourselves because we already was, you know, the guys in our community. We was already neighborhood heroes.
Next though, we know we definitely gonna get into it a little later and tell people like the real history and the you know, as far as like coming up the steps like blood for real. I was talking to old Mully and all that shit. He was saying Salik, Salik and all. He said they used to wake up. You know what I'm saying? For you feel me? Bro. Yeah, no, that's nutty. Like, Salik and all. He said they used to wake up. You know what I'm saying? Just kids.
Yeah, we two at the foot, two at the head, man. We slept in the same beds, man, when we was kids, man. Flipping dirty young boys, throwing rocks and running through alleys and all that. We come up early in the game, riding bikes, stealing bikes and all that. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, Grandmaster Nell, who was a, you know what I mean, a legendary DJ, that's Meek and O'Malley and them uncle. You know what I'm saying? He come up with Cosmic Cab and all that. He probably a little bit older than Cab, but they all come up in that era with DJ and house parties and all that. You know what I'm saying? Now was, you know, married to my Aunt Khadijah. That's my cousin Salim Mahat. And little cousin Nip, that's their mom, you know what I'm saying? She passed away, you know, may Lord have mercy on her. But, yeah, we all come up as kids, man, you know what I'm saying?
So I want to take them back. I want to talk about, like, them real South Philly days. Like, how was your youth as far as your real young boy days?
My young boy days was rough. It was rough as hell, like 10, 11 years old, 9, 10, that joint was crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking, you know, holes in my sneaks and all that type of shit, running around the P and all that. Not that my parents couldn't afford nothing. I just was so rough as a child, as a young boy running these streets. You know what I'm saying? It's all concrete. Ain't no grass in South Philly.
Your sneaks up in 2-3 days?
Yeah, one day. I get a brand new pair of sneaks. Them Jones dick. So I was always active in the streets, running through alleyways. And our alleys ain't like alleys that you might imagine. They so small, they tiny, and they dirt. You know what I'm saying? So we running through the alley just, you know what I'm saying, being badass kids and shit. You know what I mean? Stealing dogs and bikes and all that type of shit. You know what I'm saying?
So who are some of the South Philly legends, you know, back in your time when you was a real youngin'?
My old head Duba, my brother T Black first, you know what I'm saying? He passed away, he was a young boy, you know what I'm saying? He was official tissue in the streets. But my old head Duba, my old head Malachi, old head Bub, Lolo, Hot, Judah, Rubber Nose, Karam, my old head Simsy. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are legendary guys from my hood, 24th Street, 23rd Street. You know what I'm saying? Like, they was the guys, you know what I'm saying? Duba always had the Rollie, the Lex Coupes, the Benzes. They was the guys, you know what I'm saying, from my hood, always, you know what I'm saying, that I looked up to as a young boy.
No, facts though. Now, talk about, like, the difference between South Philly back then to what South Philly is now.
I mean, South Philly back then was, you know, drug infested, you know what I'm saying? The violence was at an all-time high. And now today, it ain't that much so. It's gentrified now, you know what I'm saying? As far as, you know, South Philly is today, you know what I'm saying? More gentrified. But I love it though. It's more peaceful, it's calm. And, you know, people ain't losing their life for senseless.
Now, I want to take them back to, you know, before your time and shit like that. Like I said, you come from, you know, a historical background. Tell the people a little bit about, you know, like your grandfather and the bloodline like that.
My grandfather, you know, he was a a Moorish American. Then he went to the Nation of Islam. Then before he eventually died, he was Sunni Muslim. You know what I'm saying? So he went through all these different stages of religion, trying to find his way to the truth. But in that in that time span, you know what I'm saying, he was involved with Temple Number 12, the legendary mosque out of Philadelphia, where the guys like Sam Christian, Ron Harvey, Nudie Nims, and all these guys also attended, and they had a historical, legendary presence on the city, where that they was arrested for multiple crimes, murders, and robberies, and all types of shit, historical shit. And they wrote a book on them and all that. So my grandfather was involved with them. They was his friends. They was his brothers. And you know what I'm saying, the Bey family, we caught a lot of that flack, from what them guys did in the 70s and all that type stuff. And we just, endured, some of their struggles as well coming up. You know what I'm saying? So today, we try to change that narrative, you feel what I'm saying? Because that wasn't the right narrative from what they was actually on. They just was regular human beings that made mistakes, but their whole method and model was, community, and try to do right in the black community, and, change that narrative for, they kids and their kids' kids.
Now, I do feel like, I don't agree with it, but I do feel like at that time, that might have been the right message to hear, because, like I said, only the creator is perfect, and he knows, the intentions and everything. But during the time when the message was first being pushed, it was like black people against white people. It was like basically saying that the white man was the devil, was like one of the original messages.
Yeah, they had that from the Nation of Islam. That was what Elijah Muhammad taught them, and guys like Malcolm X and stuff like that. But I grew up, my grandfather had white friends and my grandmother had white friends, so even though that was being taught, in the temple, but that wasn't their reality. You know what I'm saying? The message that we caught from the Bey family was to do for self. You know what I'm saying? Go out or open your own business and don't rely on the white man or the government, quote unquote, to say. You feel what I'm saying? Try to start your own businesses and take care of your own family. Don't rely on the government. You know what I'm saying? Like today, a lot of people rely on the government for what? Education. And you see they shutting it down with the Doge thing and all that. They relying on the government for what? Social Security. And they want to take that away. Public housing. You know what I'm saying? Like my grandfather owned 3 houses on one block, him and my grandmother. You know what I'm saying? We was raised in 3 houses. So they set that example for us. You know what I'm saying, to go out and get your own property, own your own business. That's why you see my Uncle Daoud, you know what I'm saying, doing
2 sevens.
2 sevens, 2 sevens.
2 sevens, man.
2 sevens.
affordable housing now and doing construction and all that, because he got that from his parents. You know what I'm saying? So now he teaching his kids and teaching me, his nephew, and his nieces and stuff like that. He teaching us to do for self. You know what I'm saying?
How was it for like you coming up during a child, because you kind of had like a target, you was like highlighted, and you might not even notice that, you know, during the time, you know, when you're young, you don't really know what's going on, you just know your family and things like that, but, you know, kind of like the whole city and then the police and just that name, as you grow older, you're not really given a chance for real, you kind of already got like...
It's called systemic racism, systematic racism, systematic systematic harassment. You know what I'm saying? So being harassed as a kid just because you live in on a certain block and had a certain name, it was definitely treacherous and it was traumatizing. You know what I'm saying? To deal with that. And as far as the streets, people looked at you like they couldn't really, you know, fully trust you because you come from a name that was so anonymous with, you know, crime and a lot of other shit that happened before you was even thought of. You know what I'm saying? So it was a crazy situation, but in hindsight, again, because of the community we came in was so impoverished and up that it was a good thing too. You feel what I'm saying? Because people knew not to fuck with you. They couldn't, break in your house, taunt you and things like that because they knew that it was consequences that come with it. You know what I'm saying?
Now, talk about during the time, because your family was one of the first Muslim families during that time. And then during the time when South Philly, like the mob kind of running things for in the city. So you might like caught a little bit of it, but talk about like some of the stories that you heard as far as, the blacks and then the mob trying to get together. And then, South Philly's like the two sides of Brooklyn.
I don't really know too much about that era. I just know that I heard a story that the mob couldn't run numbers on this side of Broad Street because the blacks controlled this side of Broad Street. You know what I'm saying? And that was rare in any city for blacks to tell a mob what they can't do. You know what I'm saying? So that's how much, respect they had for the brothers, you know what I'm saying, in that time that they wouldn't even write a number, you know what I'm saying? And that was one of their most lucrative businesses in every other major city across America. But in South Philadelphia, they couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So that was, one of the stories that I heard that the mob couldn't run numbers on this side of Broad Street.
Heavy John. So talk about Sam Christian as a person, because you done been around a guy and met him and had conversations with him and things like that.
Yeah, Uncle Bayat is what we call him, Samuel, Suleiman Bayat. So we call it Uncle Bayat, Sam Christian. Very intelligent, super intellectual, wise man. As far as when I got, to meet him and had conversation, he was an elder. You feel what I'm saying? So everything that he been through, in life, he always, said, all praise be to Allah. You know what I'm saying? Alhamdulillah, for the good and the bad. So he never complained about none of the situations that he ever went through, whether it was incarceration, losing friends, just different things in life that might have affected him. You know what I'm saying? He always just, gave praise to Allah for, the good and the bad. And that's one of the things that we supposed to believe in, the good and the bad, or whatever comes down the pipe. And he was the example for that to me, with my dealings with him.